For Hype Plus, it's your boy K-Rob. May 2nd, 2008 saw the release of the film that will bring us what we now know as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That film being Iron Man. The role of Tony Stark rejuvenated Robert Downey Jr.'s career and revolutionized the comic book film genre and film business. In the movie, genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, Tony Stark escapes captivity from a terrorist group and then builds a mechanized suit of armor and becomes the superhero known as Iron Man. The movie grossed over $585 million on a $140 million budget. The critics applaud the film for its story, action, and chemistry of the cast. A cast that included Terrence Howard, Gwyneth Paltrow, Jeff Bridges, Jon Favreau, with a special appearance by Samuel Jackson. With the success of the Iron Man, a sequel was immediately announced, but only Downey, Paltrow, Favreau, and Jackson would return. So here's why Cheadle replaced Terrence Howard in the MCU. Hot off his success in Hustle and Flow and Crash, in October 2006, it was announced that Terrence Howard had joined the cast of Iron Man in the role of James Rhodey Rhodes, Tony Stark's confidant and associate, who's also an accomplished military pilot and also owns his own technically advanced suit of armor known as War Machine. When we first begin to think about Iron Man, we always envision Terrence as Rhodey. The richness of the role and complexity of the character seem to mesh perfectly with the type of passion, energy, and emotion that Howard brings to all of his projects. Now with Terrence on board to co-star alongside Robert, we cannot be more excited about the great chemistry they will bring to Iron Man. During an on-set interview with Collider.com, published in March of 2018, Terrence described his excitement on joining the cast, his filming experience, and how his involvement came to be. Howard said he was attached to the film an entire year before the film had started production. It was the character of War Machine, being able to play a superhero, that attracted him to the role. He even mentioned his father was a big fan of Iron Man. And when he was asked how was his experience filming with Downey, Terrence responded, "I love him." Unfortunately, in Rhodey's last scene in Iron Man, he's seen in Tony's lab and turns to an early version of an Iron Man suit. He looks at it and says, "Next time, baby." Unfortunately, that line became infamous as it never came to fruition, for Howard at least. Turns out, Howard left the character a few months following the release of the movie, and it was announced in October of 2008 that Cheadle will be stepping in as James Rhodes. Marvel had no comment, but sources close to the deal said negotiations with Howard fell through over financial differences, among other reasons. The reason for the switch was merely speculation, and Howard remained quiet on the situation up until November 2013, when he appeared on season 10 of Bravo's late-night chat show, Watch What Happens Live. It turns out the person I helped become Iron Man, when it was time to re-up for the second one, he took the money that was supposed to go to me and pushed me out. The person Howard was referring to was co-star Robert Downey Jr. It became rumored that during the first Iron Man, Howard willingly took a pay cut in order to make room for Downey, who Marvel was initially reluctant to hire because during the late 1990s and early 2000s, Downey's career was in jeopardy due to his struggles with substance abuse and arrest. The contracts that we write and sign aren't worth the paper they're printed on. Sometimes promises are kept and good faith negotiations are always held up. The contract just up and vanished. I called Robbie and was like, "Look, man," leaving messages with his assistant, called him at least 17 times that day, and 21 the next, and finally left a message saying, "Look, man, I need the help that I gave you." Howard said his attempt at reaching out to Downey was a failure. He never returned his calls and ended up getting the money Howard felt he was owed. Guess who got the millions I was supposed to get? He got the whole franchise, so I actually gave him $100 million, which ended up being $100 million loss for me trying to look after somebody. But you know, to this day, I would do the same thing. It's just my nature. When asked if he had anything to do with the Howard/Cheadle switch by MTV News in November of 2008, Downey responded, "I had nothing to do with that decision. I love Terrence very, very much. That's all I'll say, because I haven't talked to him yet. It's one of those situations where I still don't quite know what happened or why." Here's what happens too. Things happen and you end up commenting on them before you actually talk to the people, and it's in poor taste. In the following years, more details begin to unravel, including reports from several media insiders. The main reason for Howard's departure was due to being difficult to work with, according to the folks at Marvel. Howard has been known to have a reputation for attitude. He himself has admitted to being difficult to work with, going back to decades to when he was up-and-coming actor trying to land small parts, like after getting a small gig on The Cosby Show. Howard was upset when his scene was cut out of the show. He angrily confronted Bill Cosby, a move that ruined his relationship with the show's casting director. I was 19 and had just moved to New York from Cleveland. I got on The Cosby Show on my second audition ever. I told him, "I'm a man just like you." He didn't like it, and the casting agent never took my calls again. Howard claims Cosby blacklisted him in the entertainment business. Howard didn't work for another 4 years, but recovered after landing an Academy Award nomination in 2006 for his role in Hustle and Flow. According to Entertainment Weekly, it's been said that director Jon Favreau wasn't crazy about Howard's performance as Rhodey as well. And rumors has it that he spent a lot of time reshooting Howard's scenes before doing a whole lot of cutting in the edit room floor. It's always tough when you recast, especially when you recast somebody that did a really good job, in the case of Terrence. So when it came time for Iron Man 2, Marvel wanted to cut back on Howard's character, and that also affected the money. According to Howard, he had a 3-film contract with Marvel, and they were supposed to pay him $8 million for the sequel. The studio only offered him $1 million, instead far less than he made for the first film. Some claim Howard had no clue that Marvel was angry about his behavior, and he described the studio's move as the surprise of a lifetime. As revealed by Rolling Stone, the day after Marvel and Howard fell out, the studio was on the phone with Don Cheadle, who at the time was popular for his work in Hotel Rwanda and the Ocean's trilogy. And Don Cheadle was also in consideration for the original Iron Man. I met very early on before the first one with Jon Favreau and the team. And I guess there was a split. Some people Terrence, some people me. Really, initially, they wanted Don in the role, but my agent pushed me in, so I never had any beef with Don about it. Cheadle also had this to say about accepting the role in a GQ interview. I outvived him. I did not move Terrence out of a role. He was not. They had decided they weren't. That was not happening. Then it was an open part. I was at my kid's laser tag birthday party, and they called me and said, "This is what's happening. We're giving you the offer. If you don't say yes, we're going to the next person. This is going to happen very fast." So they said, "Why don't you go ahead and take an hour and decide if you want to do it?" Cheadle has even cracked jokes on the recasting as well in later years. Rhodey obviously started as a lighter tone individual. As the character darkened and things became more compact, I think we've seen real growth with the character. He has his legs under him, no pun intended. Literally, he has been able to be a part this time and contribute. Howard is seen to come to terms with the situation and holds no grudges against Marvel. He said Marvel has a great deal going with Cheadle and Downey. And most importantly, leaving the MCU allowed him to focus on education and other interesting career opportunities. Howard went on to appear in several movies and hit shows, including Empire and The Best Men: The Final Chapters. And in December 2022, he again announced that he was retiring from acting for the 3rd time. Cheadle's initial contract with Disney/Marvel was for a total of 7 years. He appeared in 7 MCU films and 1 television project. He is set to lead the upcoming movie, Armor Wars. I'm done with my contracted years in the MCU, so now it's just like, if something sounds fun and I'm presented with it, then yeah, let's go. Many Howard fans might have been disappointed that he didn't reprise his role or get to become War Machine in the sequels. But he's not the only actor whose character was recasted. Ed Norton was originally cast as Bruce Banner in 2008's The Incredible Hulk, but Marvel Studios wasn't ultimately happy with his behind-the-scenes collaborative effort, resulting in the actor parting ways from the projects. Howard's recasting became a running gag, but some fans have now expressed interest in seeing Howard return in a cameo as a multiverse variant of Rhodey. Howard addressed a possible return in 2013's Watch What Happened Live appearance. You know what's so funny? Even though I love Don Cheadle so much, and I love what he's done, am I going to come back and be War Machine? I think they could have a huge franchise off of it, but fuck them. Stay up to date with the latest news and comedy by subscribing here to our YouTube channel, follow Hype Plus across all the social media, and look out for original content on our new streaming service. For Hype Plus, this has been your boy K-Rob.